And later this Saturday, Germany will be shutting down its last nuclear plant. That plant actually was supposed to be shut down some 2 years ago due to energy concerns. The planned shutdown was delayed for some few more months. But now this is beginning to stoke a lot of debates in Germany about the energy security of the country and what this means for the future of the European nation. Let's speak now to Emily Schultes, who's with our partners DW in Berlin, joining us with the latest on this. Emily, how did this decision come about, and why is this actually happening now?
Well, this is a decision that has been a long time coming. So after the Fukushima nuclear disaster in Japan in 2011, the German government at the time, under Chancellor Angela Merkel, had made the decision that over the course of the next decade, they were planning to phase out all of Germany's nuclear power plants. And that process had been well underway when we got to last fall, where there were only 3 remaining plants scheduled to be closed by the end of the year. And because of the war in Ukraine and the resulting debates about energy shortages and potential energy crises this winter, then the German government said that they wanted to keep them online for a few extra months just to make sure that they covered that gap. So it's really a decision that's been a decade in the making and was just slightly delayed in the end.
First of all, what's the significance of this, and how are the Germans themselves receiving this latest news?
Well, this is, as you said before, it has led to pretty contentious debate within the country. There are some political parties that have said, especially given this current situation, that it doesn't make sense for Germany to end or to close down these final remaining plants, to keep them open as a sort of insurance policy to help ensure that the country has the energy it needs. But it's been a contentious issue in the country for decades. And you have, for example, the Green Party, which is part of the current government, that was founded in part as an anti-nuclear party. And so there's been very much debates about sort of the identity of the country and sort of the way that the country gets its energy, the way that it's going to sort of transition into a green future, and all of these things play a role here. So what's interesting right now is among the population, you're actually seeing a shift in opinion. There's a recent poll showed that 2/3 of the German population would like to keep these plants online for at least the foreseeable future, which is definitely an interesting thing to add to this debate about what the future of German energy should look like.
And Emily, I'm really interested in that, looking at the debate and how this will fit into the entire picture for the whole of Europe. How's that debate unfolding?
Sure. Well, just as it's a contentious issue in Germany, it's also an issue with a lot of different opinions and a lot of different approaches across the continent. So France, for example, is a country that relies heavily on nuclear energy, and rather than powering down its plants, has made plans to continue to build future plants in coming years. There's also countries like Italy that have long not been in favor of nuclear power. And then you have a handful of other countries that, for similar reasons to Germany, are deciding maybe to delay the end of it, or maybe to potentially look into new nuclear plants in the future. Belgium, for example, has said that it will now delay its plans to phase out nuclear power for another 10 years. So this is a question on which there are a wide range of opinions across Europe and definitely no consensus.
For now, Emily Schultes with our partners DW in Berlin. Thank you for joining us. But that's not the end of the debate. It's even raging on here in Ghana as the country is making significant investments in nuclear energy. What's the implication, and why are we doing this now? We'll explore that when we get back from this break. Please. Welcome back. Earlier we were telling you about Germany's decision to shut down its last nuclear power plant. But why is Ghana investing heavily in this sector? Joining us now is Professor Seth Deborah, Director of the Nuclear Power Institute here in Ghana. Thank you, Seth, for your time on the Pulse. Let's start off with this broad debate going on in Germany. That's, of course, a much more developed nation as compared to Ghana. So the question is obvious, that why are we investing in this area when countries that are far advanced are beginning to slow down on the reliance on nuclear energy? It appears we're having...
Thank you very much, and thank you for...
Yeah, Prof, I hope you can hear me.
Can you hear me? I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Yes, now we can hear you, yes.
Okay, good. So Ghana is a sovereign country, so is Germany. That's also a sovereign country. But it will also interest you to know that Germany is not doing this based on the fact that this is more of an economical decision or a technology decision. It's doing this based on a Green Party decision or a Green Party policy. That's why it's doing this. Again, you also interested to know that Germany wanted to do this 2021, that it would take out all their nuclear power plants in operation. As I speak to you now, plants are still operating, nuclear power operating in Germany. As I speak to you now, the Green Party and its followers have decided that they want nuclear in their energy dispensation or energy mix. You will see that there is a certain agenda towards extending the lifespan of the nuclear power plants as per the current situation that we have in Europe, especially with the issue with Ukraine and issue with Russia not able to supply the needed gas that Germany also need. Also be enlightened that with all these, Germany is still building coal power plants. And that is something that we should also be mindful of. Even though Germany is saying, okay, we don't want nuclear, but it's saying that we want coal to replace the base load that nuclear is able to give us. So these are some of the things that we need to look at. And as Ghana, we want industrialization. Energy is one of the key catalysts that we need, that we can actually use to industrialize this country. We are not just talking about just any form of energy, but we're talking about stable, sustainable, and affordable energy that we have. From the 1980s, 60s up to now, we've had hydro, but hydro is dwindling. We have introduction of the thermal plants, which is very good. But again, we need to have another energy source that is of base load nature to be able to propel our industrialization agenda in this country and even in the sub-region.
Okay, so in terms of what's happening in the country, how much are you adding to the energy mix of the country, and what's your target really?
So the target is to add 2,400 megawatts of nuclear energy into the energy mix by 2030. The plan is already approved by government as the program comprehensive report that was submitted to cabinet, that was approved by the president and his cabinet, and was announced, I think, somewhere 2022. So it's around 2,400 megawatts, but you still have to have a first plant in place, and then you can then build on the subsequent ones that you want. And again, it's not just for the country Ghana, but also for the sub-region. When you look into in the sub-region, you know why Ghana is actually an energy production leader, an energy generation leader within it. And we don't have to lose that as a country, especially with the introduction of ACTA, that we need to kind of build up a certain form of energy source that is affordable, cheap, sustainable, again, to be able to support our industry and even attract more industries within the region.
But then the issue about the energy, the technology, and the time involved, is it not better to prioritize other sources of energy?
Other sources of energy have already been prioritized. If you look at Ghana, we are doing more of thermal right now because it's more of a transitional fuel, transitional technology. As you look at it, when you look at the energy transition that the Ministry of Energy is championing, you can see that gas is actually transitional energy. We need to move to a form of energy source that doesn't pollute, that also gives us cheap or what we call affordable energy tariffs. We need to move to energy sources that's able to provide the needed jobs that we actually need within this country, especially for the youth within the country. So yes, there should be some transition, and that transition is already inbuilt currently in our energy mix, and it's being built even before the time that the nuclear is even projected to come on, because nuclear is not an energy source that you want today, you get today. It takes about 10 to 15 years to plan and build. So it takes time, and we need that transition in terms of gas to be able to get there. And not just us, you can see in many countries also looking at that transition. You can see even in Europe, a lot of countries in Europe are using gas as a transition energy source before they get to the nuclear power plant.
Do we have do we have enough funding for what's happening now?
So there is a difference in nuclear. Let me just be a bit of a technical person here, even though I'm technical. Well, let me just be technical here. There is a difference between funding and financing. I think what you are asking for is the financing aspect. The nuclear itself, again, has a high upfront cost but very low running cost. So you need some form of support in terms of financing to actually do this. No country around the world has been able to finance a nuclear power plant on its own. Always you need other partners to be able to do this. Almighty United Kingdom is getting help from elsewhere, including France, including China, to be able to build nuclear power plants. So let's not make it as if because of this high cost or high upfront cost, we won't be able to do it.
Yeah, but you agree. But you agree that we cannot entirely take that out of the conversation.
Of course, and that's the point I made. Even countries like UK are actually seeking help to do this. Country like Belarus, country even like UAE, even sought help in doing this in terms of financing. So it's not something that I will even advise Ghana takes on its own and then try to do this. It's almost impossible to do that. But once you are able to attract the financing by building a very good program, you are able to attract financing to the project and even to the program to be able to do this.
Okay, but are we getting some partnerships already and some partners expressing interest in our nuclear power sector? Are we beginning to see some interest there?
So the interest is there. Ghana, through the Ministry of Energy, issued what we call the request for interest in our nuclear energy projects currently. We received six project interests for a large reactor and 9 interests for a small modular reactor. And you can say interest is there. We are actually having a follow-up that is being led by the Nuclear Power Ghana. That is the proposed owner-operator that was commissioned by the Ministry of Energy, that is being funded and technically shipped by the Ghana Atomic Energy Commission, the VRA, that's the Volta River Authority, and We Power Authority. So there is some interest. Currently, we are having what we call a follow-up request for information, where we are looking to meet countries that the government or the ministry have pointed us to look at in terms of whatever they are able to present to us, not just technology, but also financing to the project.
So how about the concerns regarding the sustainability of the environment and the likely impacts that we're to see if we start to running nuclear? Are you aware of that, and how are you taking measures to guard against it?
So environmental impact of nuclear is actually a perception around the world, and it's also a perception within this country, Ghana. But if you look at nuclear has never posed any environmental consequence. The picture you are showing currently, you have what we call cooling towers. Cooling towers are used to cool the reactor, and those cooling towers, what is coming out of that cooling tower is actually not soup. It's water vapor. So you have water vapor coming out. Technically, you have water actually coming out as a byproduct of the nuclear power plant. In terms of environmental issues, I'm much aware of any other environmental issues, because over 400 nuclear power plants are operating around the world. including 2 in South Africa, but you don't hear of any environmental issues. It's also worthy to know that because of its good environmental track record, countries in Africa are considering it. Countries around Europe are not even considering, but even building it. Turkey is one of them that is currently building 2 nuclear power plants in their country. You have countries in Asia that are building. UAE will commission its 4th nuclear power plant this year, hopefully, and will actually. So it has a good track record of environmental. When it comes to the environmental aspect of the power plant generation. So again, it's a perception that people have, and that perception needs to be cleared. And I'm glad that we are having this conversation to actually make a clear difference between a nuclear power plant that actually out of its cooling tower comes water vapor, and other power plants that actually produces soot. So I think that will be for the issues of the environmentalists and all those things. But again, I'm sure the issue of waste will also come, which may also impact the power plants. But things people also don't understand is that this waste has a certain activity, it has a certain strength, and the strength decreases as the years go along. And we took some of our people to Ghanaians that are not even nuclear engineers or non-nuclear physicists to an advanced country like Japan that has suffered Fukushima, that has suffered Hiroshima and Nagasaki during the World War. But again, they are venturing into nuclear power plants. And there's a very good reason why they are going. The environmental impact, or the good environmental track record is one of those reasons why they are going back to nuclear.
The long-term target you gave was 2030. Is that when we'll see a complete onboarding of what you're doing at your outfit onto the national energy mix?
So my outfit deals with the program. So when I talk about the program, everything that should make sure that the project actually works. So the project itself is being carried out by what the institution called Nuclear Power Ghana that I mentioned. Currently, they are located in the Bui towers at the airport, in the airport area. Now, you will see a full nuclear power plant operating within Ghana by 2030, and that's when you will have everything actually coming together, and people will see a nuclear power plant operating within this country.
Okay, so not until 2030, we're not going to see any sign of nuclear power adding to our mix.
And not until 2030. If you want it before 2030, nuclear is. Unfortunately, nuclear is not a power plant that you rush. You can't cut corners with nuclear. It's a very delicate technology. It's a very complex technology, but it's very efficient in what it does. So you need to take your time there. The planning needs to go on. The implementation of the various issues needs to be addressed. Issues like what's the funding and finance, which you asked. What's the human resource that we need to build, and then all those things needs to be there. It needs to be established before you operate a nuclear power plant. You don't want to start operating a nuclear power plant, and then you have issues with human resource that you don't have people to either maintain, operate a nuclear power plant. You need to maintain it because it's a long-term power plant that operates a minimum of 60 years, an extension of 20 years, making its operating life close to about 80 years or even more than that. So it is a plant that takes patience to build, and it's a plant that takes patience to plan.
And so which stage do you find yourselves now?
Which stage we find ourselves, not myself. So we are in the second phase 2 of the nuclear power program that we are now looking at vendors. We are establishing the various institutions that are involved. We are putting the various infrastructure in place to make sure that in phase 3 we build and commission the plan. So it's a 3-phase approach. We've already gone past phase 1, and it's not a project or a program that we are doing in secret or in darkness. We are doing this in clear view with the International Atomic Energy Agency and other international bodies actually looking at this, coming into peer review, the various steps that we are taking, the various ways that we are using to address the issues that are related to nuclear power plant infrastructure development and all that. So we got past phase 1 just last year. That with a proper announcement from the president that Ghana is going nuclear based on the various technical works that was carried out by the Ghana Nuclear Power Program Organization that is being represented at the technical level by the Nuclear Power Institute of the Ghana Atomic Energy Commission.
Okay, we'll see how that will unfold, but then I just hope that you've already identified some of the companies that you'd be working with. Are you certain on that already?
We are very much certain. Thursday, we are having a virtual meeting with some of our advanced partner countries. We've done together with them what we call an industrial survey, that we know that industries that are in the country and what we need to build to make sure that the nuclear power plant doesn't suffer any hitch or have a good supply chain within this country. So we are having a dissemination seminar or a conference with Association of Ghana Industries and is it the Chamber of Contractors or so. Construction, the Chamber of Construction. So we are in touch with almost every other institution that we need to actually do or have that relationship with. We are also talking to other CSOs. We are talking to professional bodies within this country. We are talking to the various associations that, the various ministries that are responsible for information, responsible for communication, responsible for education, responsible for trade, every other ministry that is related to this program we are talking to. And we identify the various companies, the various institutions that need to be set up to make sure this happens and happens in a safe, secure, and safeguarded manner.
And finally, if there's any fascinating benefits that you would want the public to know about as you run this nuclear project, what would you want that to be?
So I think we've hammered this over and over again. For a nuclear power plant, and when I hear people saying, well, this is a good plant, but again, you are just looking for a job for yourself. I already have a job as a researcher. I love what I do as a researcher, and I also as a program developer. So the nuclear power plant actually takes over only 10% of nuclear engineers. So all the people working, about 1,000 people working within one nuclear power plant, you have only 10% being nuclear engineers. The rest are chemists, they are accountants, they are auditors, they are communicators, they are cleaners. So you have all sorts of people, chemists, electrical engineer, civil engineer. So you have all sorts of people coming in. And with our board, our U board, we need to find a way to actually channel their skill into doing whatever that we are doing within this country. And the 1,000 people, I'm just talking about the people who are going to do the operation, the people who are going to build. Currently in Turkey, the two power plants are taking over 11,000 people on site. And this is direct job. I'm not talking about the indirect or the spin-offs. No, I'm just talking about direct jobs that are being created currently in Turkey. And we can do something similar or something more than that if we are able to put our things well and we have the support of the populace or the general public to actually go on with this. So we need to create jobs for our people. We need to enrich our country. We need to provide some diversity in our energy portfolio. We need to bring some form of good level of base load for our industries to benefit from. So it's not just power, it's also about job creation, it's also about strengthening our industries within the country.
Anyway, we'll have to leave it here. Professor Seth Deborah, Director of the Nuclear Power Institute. I'm grateful for your time here on The Pulse. Keep set.